We got our bumper extensions, the fender fillers, whatever you want to call them. And these are the ABS ones, so they are made of plastic, not fiberglass. And initially they look like they fit very well, and they're going to, but you do need to dry fit them no matter what. And with the ABS ones, you can actually use this original piece that fit on there that will hold them into place, because it'll do a much better job holding them all into place. So first thing you want to do is make sure all your holes line up, which we've done that. Now, a couple of these had been pried out a little bit for whatever reason, through age or however they were. They just pulled out and they're not going to sit flat. So we took a little ball peen hammer and just gently tapped them back in so they're nice and flat. And now we're going to fit this piece and see how it goes. Okay, we've started with the first one at the very top. We don't want to over tighten it, as you can see where it's going to need a little bit of fitting here on the side. And this side looks pretty good, but we're going to have to push these out and get them to bend back in. So we want to start at the top and work our way down. This side we know is going to fit pretty well, so we're going to do these first, and then we'll pull the big side out over here. So this is our initial dry fit. We're pretty good around the top. It's never going to be perfect. They weren't perfect when they were brand new. And it fits pretty well here. I've got a little bit of an innie right here, and what we're going to do is, on this one right here, when I take this off, I'm going to widen that hole on the ABS plastic just a little bit, so that this will slide out just a little more and make a better fit like it does right along here. But again, they are never going to be absolutely perfect. They weren't perfect when they were new, but this is pretty darn close. Up next, we are going to dry fit these tail lamp bezels. And you got to know there's like a million adjustments to these things. This is an adjustment for up and down, and on the side of it is an adjustment for in and out on this tail lamp. There's another one over here, up and down, in and out. This piece can adjust so it'll meet the screw that is on this piece. All of these are pretty much where they are, and that's that. But if you're not getting it to fit right, if it's fitting and it's off a little bit like that, you can slide this that way. If it's fitting to where it's up a little too high, you can slide this up and down. So there are a lot of adjustments on this. So don't necessarily blame this. Adjust this. In our first go around with this, the top holes lined up perfectly, but we couldn't get anywhere near the side hole. So we took this off and we adjusted this piece out a little bit. You loosen this 1/4 inch screw, this whole piece will slide out a little bit, then you can bend it back in the up direction, line it up, make sure it fits like we did, put this on, and then those will all go right in the way they're supposed to. Got a nice clean edge all the way around, and it looks really good. Now, here's another point that you want to pay attention to. If you've saved your original moldings from here, you'll notice that over here you're going to have, and I don't have it with me, it's back at my house, but there's a little corner molding that fits on here. They give you the door edge guard that goes around it, but there's a little corner molding here that you can crimp on, and it holds the two together. It looks a lot better than just running the one piece. If you have that little corner molding, this is a little long for that. So you're going to want to take a Dremel before you have this painted and cut that down a little bit and get that to right about there, right about here, because you're going to want that to be very similar to this. This is going to be a little too big. And if you do it after you have it painted, there's the likelihood you're going to take your Dremel and go zzz, no problem. There's also the likelihood you're going to take your Dremel and go zzz, and then you're having to repaint them. So do it before you paint. Well, it's kind of hard to get a better looking fit than that. It looks really well. Remember, we're going to adjust this out just a little bit before we have it painted. We're taking these off and taking them to the painter and having them do that. But that is a great fit. We'll do the other side next. And with almost no drama at all, the left one fits like a champ. Absolutely spectacular. And with the left side tail lamp bezel on, it actually fits very well. This end marries up nicely. There's a little bit of a gap here, but I will say this for the third time. They were not perfect when they were brand new. They are not going to be perfect now, but these things look pretty darn good for what you've got. They really are nice. Everything fits. Again, there will be a chrome bezel around here. This looks off a little bit because the shadow of the light up above it. And if we need to, we can still pull this out a little bit, but it doesn't need to. It's just fine the way it is. It looks perfect. And with our bumper back on and the fillers all dry fitted and looking nice, everything fits pretty well. We're gonna have to take the bumper off again, so we'll make our final adjustments with the bumper. Like you're gonna see, it needs to be moved over to the passenger side, maybe 1/4 of an inch. And here you can see where I've got a shim that was on this car, and I didn't remember where it came from, but it clearly came from this side. So we'll shim this bumper out the width of a shim, and this thing will actually look like brand new once we get these things painted. We got our 76 Sedan DeVille back from the paint shop. We've got our fender extensions and bumper fillers in, and it's time to reassemble. Now we're going to start in the middle with the license plate filler, and depending on how yours came apart, ours we took apart and we saved the license plate filler and just had it repainted. So we took the 2 mounting brackets, and we also took the 2 lights apart, because you've got to get those license plate lights out of your way. It's hanging here. You got to get your license plate lights out of the way in order to install that. So this is our one. And now we did something that you might want to do. We got the unleaded fuel only sticker, and that's nice. You can get that from Original Parts Group. There are other people that have it. We had this painted, then put the sticker on it, then had them clear coat over it. So you can still feel the little bump of the thing. It looks like it's a sticker, but it's on there forever now, and that thing is not going to come off. We put our little mounting brackets that came off, we cleaned them all up, got the rust off of them. They go in here underneath like this to hold that in place, and then you set the whole thing in. We'll show you how that's done. Now, I don't know how these work on the aftermarket ones, but on the factory ones, there's a groove here, and this slides underneath, and then the groove goes right inside of here, and it slides right in, and it fits right inside. Then you put your, this goes over, and this goes over here, so you're up on top. So your groove is in the middle, everything else is on the outside, and that's how these fit. As with everything on this car, there's a billion little adjustments, and you want to make sure that you are right even with this. When we had it before, when we put it on from underneath, it was crunched over to this side, and there was a big space here. So we loosened it, and we adjusted it, and now we've got it exactly the way we need to have it, and it is time to move on to the fender extensions. Now, assuming you've already dry fitted your piece, you've got this support bracket that holds everything in, and you go ahead and you push it in underneath. It will already fit, everything will be awesome, and then you set it up on the car. You've got your piece set on, you set it in the neighborhood of where you want it. Again, you've already dry fit it, so you know that it fits, and now you just start running in your 1/4 inch screws, and in she goes. We're all in place, and even though we've dry fitted these before they were painted and we know that they're right, we made all the adjustments we wanted to make, we kept these things nice and loose so we can still move them around, because we're going to want to push up a little bit here and push out a little bit here. They're never going to be exactly perfect, but they're going to be very, very close. So once you get them lined up where you like them, one at a time, starting at the top and working your way down, go ahead and tighten them up. And so with all our nuts and bolts tightened, we've got a pretty good fit and finish all the way through. It's not too terribly bad. There is one thing I'm looking at that I think I might want to make an adjustment on, and that is right here. You notice how this tab sticks down below the bumper. And if the bumper impacts, it's going to hit that tab, and it could crack this entire thing. Although if the bumper impacts too much, it's going to hit this tab and crack the whole thing anyway. These were originally a rubber, and they flexed with the bumper. But at the very least, I think I can take my Dremel and cut that off and give myself a little bit of benefit if it's a light impact and somebody just bumps it, and I don't wind up having to go through all of this again. Okay, we've got both of our fender fillers on, and they fit very well because we pre-fit them before they were painted. They look nice. This would ordinarily be the time that we would put the bumper ends on, because that would be the next step, and these pieces would be the last pieces we put on. However, because this is a new bumper for us, we are going to fit this bumper the way that it's supposed to be. So we're going to put these on next and then adjust the bumper up and down and in and out so that it looks the way it's supposed to. If you'll remember from the disassembly part of this video, which was shot months ago, but it's now going to be seconds ago on your video, there were a lot of adjustments in these taillights. There's an in and out adjustment, there's an up and down adjustment, there's a side to side adjustment, there's a lot of adjustments on these taillights, and we made all those adjustments already. So we got to pause here as a disclaimer. This is a 1976. If it were a 1975, we'd be done. 76 has a trim that goes around here, which I have, and I have not put on here yet, but I will. It doesn't affect the fitment of this. So I'm happy with the way this fits. This side of the bumper is a little tight, so it's going to get lowered a little bit. This side hasn't been done over here yet, but it's going to be, and it's going to be way low. I know the bumper is a little bit off, but we're going to make that adjustment. That's why we're doing these first instead of at the end. Okay, and now you can see we are really tight over there, getting looser. Loose, loose, loose. Loose as a goose over here. So we're going to adjust the bumper so that it goes where it needs to go and makes it look right. Looks like we're okay with the bumper side to side. As far as in and out goes, it looks like we're pretty good on the in and out. So I'm satisfied with the in and out. I did, while you weren't looking, I did put 2 shims on this side. Shims I already had, and you'll have if you take your bumper apart too. So that's good, but we're just going to do the up and down now. Moving a bumper is kind of hard. You need a friend to help you lift it, so I've enlisted the help of my friend Jack. Jack, say hello. Hi, Jack. And up she goes. And that bumper is going right where we want it. And it is very close. When we tighten this screw down, this piece will go down. There's also a piece of metal trim that goes here that tightens all that up, and everything will adjust out really well. It'll look very nice. No issues. And there you have it. If you aren't happy with that, boy, I don't know what to tell you, because that's just about as nice as anything I've ever seen. Now, a couple of things. I'm going to take these off because I've got to put the trim rings around them. I'm going to put the bumper ends back on, and I'll show you that completed part at the end. This looks like on an edited video that I did this in like 2 minutes. Truth of the matter is, all told, I've got about 2.5 hours of jagging around even after I pre-fit them with using a Dremel tool and trimming little pieces at the end and doing things like that. But it is well worth the time and effort to do that. And then at the end of this video, I'm also going to show you how I do the trim around here and make it look like it came from the factory. Okay, I just thought that was funny for a moment that I'm working on the car. That song's on the radio and they say they'd buy you a Cadillac. Now we're putting the taillights back in. Now, don't forget about these. There aren't a lot of adjustments in them, but they fit in really nicely so that this part right here is concealed and this beveled part is the part that sticks out, and it goes right inside, pops out, fits on that stud that's on the bumper, and in she goes. And then you just tighten that up and you're good to go. Okay, and we're getting started on putting the trim pieces back on. I was lucky enough to be able to salvage these off the old ones, this part of it. And I also salvaged these corners. And they are kind of critical to doing a good job with this. Because that stuff you get with the kits that goes around it, that's this, does not match this. But there's a trick. So here's the deal. On these, originally they had a groove in the original rubber filler, and this fit in like a door edge guard, and it just snapped right into place. Well, these don't have that. I've seen some guys that are pretty creative and they try to put the groove in and they do a good job, and hey, good on them. I'm glad they found a way to do it. That's not for me. I cut the edge off of the back of this, make it an L instead of a U, and I glue it on using the 3M plastic emblem adhesive, and it sticks forever and ever and ever. I've got another one of these right behind me, and I did that with it in 2004, so it's been a while, close to 20 years, and they haven't come off. The bottom piece I was lucky enough to save. It did have a crack in it, but you glue it and hold it together with the tape. You want to tape the edges of all this so you don't get the glue on the painted surface, because if you get the glue on the painted surface, you're never getting it off. If you're dumb enough to use lacquer thinner on it, you're getting the paint off, you're taking them off and repainting them again. Also put it on the bumper just for convenience, and then tape these things up to hold them in place. Then over here, you'll see I've got this corner piece, and I've got the other one too, I just don't have it on right now, and that latches into place. When we put this trim on, and I'm going to show you how to cut this the right way so that it actually makes the corners, it'll fit right in there. You squeeze it together and it stays, and it looks as good as you're ever going to get without getting new old stock of these. And we removed the tape from our 76 sedan DeVille. This stuff is on like a rock. And then we've also put the trim around the sides, and if you'll notice, it actually looks pretty good, like it's got the original bends in it. There are some minor imperfections, but it's better than when people just take this stuff and they loop it right around and there's no bend to it at all, and it just looks like a solid piece, which you don't want. So I'm going to show you how to make those cuts and make that stick. So this is what an original one of these looked like. I wasn't able to save it. Obviously it all cracked and fell apart, but this is what it originally looked like. It had a nice bend here, and it had a seam here and a seam here. So what I did was I took this piece and made a sample out of it. Some of them look better than others. The one that looks about the best is the one where I cut a V-notch out of it. And the V-notch works the best. Like this one, I cut it straight up. This one, I cut a smaller piece out of it. This, I tried to cut the half-assed V's out of it, and that didn't work as well. The V-notch seemed to work about the best. So basically what you're going to do is, about halfway through this is the one that's about the best one. About halfway through this part of what would be the face, or this would be right here, you cut with any kind of a knife that you have. An X-Acto knife is fine, a box cutter, any kind of a utility knife. Cut it straight down. You're just going to take and cut a straight cut right down the middle of it. Then once you get a straight cut, you're going to turn it over, and you're going to gently cut a small V on a slight angle and a small V on a slight angle the other way. And now you're going to take a heat gun and put it on low setting and hold it maybe 3 or 4 inches away. And you're going to gently bend this until it comes together. This is the side you'll see, until it comes together about like this. And you're going to over bend it a little bit. Even though you only need about that much bend, you're going to over bend it a little bit. Get it hot with the heat gun, then take it away from the heat gun. You're going to hold it about 4 or 5 inches away. Otherwise you'll melt all of this and it'll come apart. Then you take it away, you continue to hold it. After about 30 seconds it's going to cool down, and then it's going to look perfect for when you install it on the car. Now as far as measuring these things go, you know the distance between here and here, so you figure you can measure it. I wouldn't do it that way. The way I do it is I measure it, I put a pencil mark or a marker mark where I know I want it, and then I cut the first one. Then I go ahead and I measure the second one and cut the second one. And then I go ahead and measure the third one and cut the third one. And I do that so that I don't wind up having to do it twice. So measure a whole bunch of times, cut it once, and you're going to wind up with a really successful repair. It's kind of hard to argue with how nice that really looks. As you go all the way around, clean down to the bottom, through here. And if you're lucky enough to have saved these, even though this and this is a different size and style, this is a nice transition piece where it takes your eye away from it. You don't even know it. There it is, exactly the way that it ought to be. And you have now put in a set of rear bumper fillers. We're the West of the Lake Region Cadillac and LaSalle Club in the Chicago area. We make these videos to help you fix your classic Cadillac if you want to do it yourself, or if you can't find a mechanic willing to work on older cars. Please like and subscribe to our videos. The more you subscribe, the more videos we can produce. If you have any questions or would like us to make a video showing how to repair something on your car, please drop us an email at westofthelakeclc@gmail.com or leave a comment below. We'll do our best to get back to you as soon as possible. Thanks for watching.